Joining us live now is St. Anselm College political science professor Chris Gualtieri. Chris, always great to see you. Thanks for coming in. We have learned the former president has changed his speech for tonight since the assassination attempt. So what sort of message and tone might we be expecting now?
Well, I think based on the convention thus far, we're going to see much more of a focus on things like economic issues, foreign policy, issues where Republicans sense weakness in the Biden administration's record and sees opportunities to score points with voters who aren't necessarily diehard, dyed-in-the-wool Trump supporters.
So, Chris, the official ticket is Trump-Vance. What do you think the strategy is by the Trump campaign to bring in someone like J.D. Vance as his running mate?
Well, I think it's important to contrast this with 8 years ago when Trump made Mike Pence his running mate. There, Mike Pence was essentially an olive branch to mainstream Republicans, conservatives, evangelicals, groups who were very suspicious of Donald Trump, who was executing what was basically a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. This year, Trump clearly doesn't see any need for that sort of thing. Vance, I think, was the Trumpiest of the final options for vice president, and his selection, I think, indicates that the GOP is now the Trump party for all intents and purposes.
So, Chris, let's flash forward to November, talk about the matchup right now. Recent New Hampshire polling indicating registered Democrats would prefer that President Biden step down and make way for another candidate. So far, of course, Biden has resisted that, but may be more receptive now. So what does this path now, looking ahead, what does it look like for Democrats to still be competitive as Republicans now appear to be more united than ever?
Well, I think the first thing Democrats need to do is figure out who their nominee is actually going to be. We've been in about 3 weeks of this limbo state of, is the president going to be the nominee? Is he going to be pushed out? Is he going to be replaced with somebody else? This is just, taking Democrats' eye completely off the ball. They're not talking about the administration. They're not talking about Trump. They're just talking about themselves and having a very public family dispute. I think once they figure that out, whether it's the president, Vice President Harris, some other option, then I think Democrats are likely to try to turn the election into a choice between their candidate and Trump, and try to remind voters of what they didn't like about Trump in 2020, the reasons they voted against him then, and try to make a case that it would be a mistake to return to that.
Chris, how likely do you think New Hampshire will be? As for November, are we in play?
I think we are in play. Recent polling has shown a very close race here, and I think we should expect to see a lot of candidates in the state and on television.
Okay, Chris Gualtieri, St. Anselm College, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.